monuments overnight, pissed off Americans ruin something of theirs. Liberals and Muslims get along so well because both groups share the same hatred for our country and everything it stands for. With leftists' ongoing attempts to erase our history through the destruction of Confederate monuments, now Muslims in America are joining the fight to demolish relics of our founding fathers, to include street names, memorials, and statues. But unfortunately for these Muslim terrorists, pissed-off Americans have a little something to say about that, and are laying waste to these Muslims' outrageous plans to erase our country's history. Muslims understand fully that to take over our country, they must implant themselves in every facet of our society. The other side to that coin is erasing our country's history, as the Quran specifically teaches that ruins and destruction of non-Muslim civilizations are a sign of Allah's punishment for those who rejected His truth. So it should come as no surprise that CARE, the biggest Muslim organization in America, is now joining forces with radical leftists to erase America's history by eradicating our nation's monuments. Nihad Awad, CARE's national executive director, is now demanding that state and local governments demolish every vestige and symbol about America's Confederate history, saying that the removal would be a fitting response to the deadly terror attack over the weekend in Charlottesville. A fitting response to the deadly terror attack on anti-racist protesters in Charlottesville would be for officials in states and cities nationwide to immediately announce that every street, every school, every flag, and every public memorial honoring those who took up arms in defense of white supremacy and slavery will be removed or have its name changed to instead honor those who fought for civil rights, Awad said in a statement to the Daily Caller. The CARE terrorist then finished off his rant with blasting America's history of slavery, saying that destruction of these monuments would be a small step forward in turning the page on the darkest period in our nation's history. The words had hardly left Awad's, however, when many Americans immediately began to annihilate Awad over his ridiculous statements, pointing out that the same criteria he's using against Confederate vestiges should be made against Islamic ones as well. Can we remove the mosques since they teach the ways and means of Muhammad, who married a 9-year-old girl? Who was a mass murderer? Who hated Jews? One Twitter user blasted out. Someone else then pointed out the Awad's startling hypocrisy of blasting America over slavery, considering that Muhammad was a slave owner who taught through numerous passages in the Quran that Muslims are to take non-Muslims as slaves. Funny how CARE nor its executive director Nihad Awad never mentions, let alone condemns modern-day slavery under Islam, where countless women and children have been forced into slavery under ISIS in modernized Muslim countries throughout the Middle East. But the reason that Muslims want to remove our Confederate artifacts goes much deeper than most realize, as Muslims seek to erase all historic evidence of non-Muslim civilizations because in doing so, it makes the religion of Islam appear legitimate, as the Quran teaches that ruins and destruction of non-Muslim civilizations are a sign of Allah's punishment for those who rejected His truth. The Quran states, "Many were the ways of life that have passed away before you, travel through the earth, and see what was the end of those who rejected truth." Quran 3-137. Islamic expert Robert Spencer shed more light on why Muslims are so eager to destroy America's history, as demolishing non-Muslim civilizations is the basic foundation of Islam. He stated, "This is one of the foundations of the Islamic idea that pre-Islamic civilizations, and non-Islamic civilizations, are all Jahiliyyah, the society of unbelievers, which is worthless trash. Obviously this cuts against the idea of having some historical memory and respect for where we have been as an aid to understanding and guiding where we may be going. The non-Muslim past is to be regarded solely with disgust and contempt, and the memory of it erased." This impulse is yet another element of the alliance of Muslims such as those of Hamas-linked CARE and leftists. Both demonize all disagreement and dissent from their positions, and do not debate their opponents, but instead defame them as morally evil. And in this call from Nihad Awad, Hamas-linked CARE joins the left in wanting all traces that anyone ever thought differently from the acceptable current orthodoxy be forever effaced. It all makes perfect sense now why Muslims are so eager to help liberals lay waste to our country's history, as America's iconic symbols represent the infidels' dominion over them. Now more than ever we must shed a light on what's going on, as liberals and Muslims are united in their hatred for our country, and will not rest until every symbol of our nation's history is successfully removed. Thank you for watching this video. What do you think about this? Share this on Facebook and Twitter along with your comments.